question is, why was offer only? I understand with offer being 60 days now that we know about the hospitalization, but why was offer 60 days before? If she got 6 months, year and a half before this, why would you lower it from 6 months to 60 days without knowing the hospitalization? That makes perfect sense. Looks like the state didn't look closely at your case, is what I'm saying. Right. But they wouldn't offer you 60 days.
Right.
But now that we know the whole story, the 60 days may be very reasonable. I don't know. It may be more appropriate or more in line. Normally, I would send you to 9 months or 8 months or 6, 7 months, something more than 6. You follow me?
Yes, sir.
But there's a whole nother factor there that we've got to take into account, and that's the revoked knowingly second or subsequent offense. And Mr. McDaniel is here on behalf of Mr. Smith, Mr. Bell, and Mr. Mitchell are here on behalf of the state. And Mr. McDaniel, tell me where you stand, please.
Your Honor, Ms. Kent, 26-8 CT, we're going to have to court, no contest, and ask the court to sentence her with some extenuating circumstances, and she's going to waive the right to jury trial and hold witnesses. She understands that she can sentence up to a year in jail, and we'll go from there.
Okay, Ms. Kent, let me get you to raise your right hand, please. Ms. Kent, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about giving this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Kent, you're accused of a first-degree misdemeanor, which means that the maximum I can sentence you to is a year. Some concern about whether we had to have a 2-part process or a 1-part process, whether it's going to eventually be a bench trial or jury trial. Regardless, if it doesn't go to trial, we don't have a jury here today. So if you want a jury trial, we're going to make that happen. If you want a bench trial, we're going to make that happen. But if you enter this plea, there will not be a trial. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
If you're entering this plea, you're waiving your right to a trial, and you're also waiving your right to call witnesses on your own behalf and cross-examine the witnesses. There won't be a trial, so you don't get any witnesses other than witnesses for sentencing purposes. You understand?
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Kent, do you understand that the most I can sentence you to is a year in jail? But what I'll do is I'll listen to the state, I'll listen to Mr. McDaniel, I'll listen to you, I'll look at your driving record, your criminal record, and I'll decide what sentence I think is appropriate. I know that the state's offer, as of the last I was told in court last week, was
60 days.
the state's recommended sentence was going to be 60 days. Is that still what you're recommending?
That's still what we're recommending.
So that's what they're recommending, and that has some value, but it's limited value. You understand all of that?
Yes, sir.
And you felt this is the best thing for you to do is enter this plea and waive those rights?
Yes, sir.
All right. So has she signed a waiver of rights form? I'm going to show you a waiver of rights. You're entered a plea of no contest to the charge of driving while license suspended or revoked, second or subsequent offense, first degree misdemeanor. I'm going to find the plea is freely and voluntarily entered with the advice of counsel. So, Ms. Kent, I'm glad Mr. McDaniel, let me hear from her. Let me hear from you or from the state. Or
I will let you hear from her, but I will say that, I think Ms. Kent, has had a lot of things going on in her life lately. And I tried to put urgency in her to try to get her license back. And, quite frankly, she didn't put the urgency that's probably needed in that. I know that Friday, she told me she went to the clerk's office and she, entered into some agreements with the clerk's office to make payments on some fines that she had, get her license back. And she's in that process now of trying to realize the urgency of it. So just let the court be aware of that. And I'll let Ms. Kent tell you the reason why she was driving and what's going on.
okay, Ms. Kent, give me a second to look at this driving record because I've not looked at it closely. I know that there was some priors, but let me see why your license is suspended. It looks like you have a 2023 DUI. Something related to that DUI is still out there, and that could be not paying a reinstatement fee, could be not doing something you had to do in the DUI. So that's part of a suspension. There's an unpaid traffic ticket in Jackson County that's causing part of the problem. Another traffic fine from Jackson County, and then your driver's license was canceled in March of 25. This offense was on New Year's Day of 26. And the last, I'm showing driving license suspended 1. So you got 99, 05, 12, 19, and 24. So that's 5 priors plus 1 no valid driver's license in 22. So the last driving license suspended would have been in July of 24, which was a year and a half or so before the current one. So the one thing I always look at is, did the person get their license back since the last one? So since July of 24, you have not had your license. So it appears you didn't have a license, got a charge, whatever happened with that happened, which we're going to look at in just a second. Continue to drive, got another charge. So I want to listen to you, but I want to know what happened to the one in 24 as far as the disposition. So it's 24-365 CT. And in that case, charged driving while license suspended, it looks like you were arrested. I think you must have entered a plea at first appearance, maybe.
She did, Your Honor.
And you were sentenced to 6 months in the Jackson County Jail. All right, so that's what I know so far. That's brand new to me. I didn't know that until right now. So I'm glad to listen to anything you want to tell me.
As far as that charge, I had some other charges.
Which charge are you talking about now?
The one in where the July charge, for driving on license suspended. I, had some other charges in Washington County. And the reason the license was, I never tried to get them back is because I was in prison. I just got out of prison in April of last year.
Okay, so give me some time frame. So I know that you were in court in July of 24. When did you go to prison?
About 2 weeks after that, I was here and I got sentenced to 1129 here.
Did you actually do this sentence in prison, this
Yes.
6 month jail?
Yes, sir.
So when you went on the felony, we just let you go and you did it, took care of everything at one time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you went in August of 24 to prison and got
Yes,
out
sir.
when?
April of last year.
April of 25.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm with you so far. Go ahead, please.
And since then, I have I didn't have a license, so I had a problem getting a job. My mother was terminally ill, and I've been helping. I was helping with her, and in December of 2025, she was hospitalized, and on the 1st, I got a call that she was getting worse, and I need to go there. That's the whole reason I was driving that day. I'm an only child. I don't have help with her. So that's the reason I got behind the wheel. I do apologize. I know that I shouldn't have been driving. But I was on my way to the hospital. I did state that to the deputies. They searched my car. They did not find anything. I have been trying my hardest to get things together since then. The license thing, I had to help I had to help bury her. And so I couldn't afford to get the license until now. Oops, excuse me.
Okay, when did your mother pass?
She passed on January 5th.
Okay, and this was January 1st.
Yes, sir.
And she was in the hospital on January 1st.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I have all the paperwork.
So let me go back to the ticket and let's see what road you were on. And I noticed the time of day was 7:36 in the morning. I did see that.
Yes, sir. They called me and told me that I need to come in, that we need to make some different arrangements.
Who is they?
The doctors from Sacred Heart Hospital at Bay Medical, they had contacted me and told me that I need to come down there, that we need to make arrangements.
All right, so you live in the Alford area?
Yes, sir.
Well, wait, I may be looking at the wrong one. I think I am looking at the old one. Let me go to the current ticket.
And at the time, I lived at 1723 Virginia Street in Alford.
South from Pike Pond Road, traveling south. So tell me, you left your home on, well, it says Freeman Road is the address.
Yes, sir, that's my address now. I have moved since she has passed. I moved back to her residence.
On
Yeah.
January 1st, the ticket shows a Freeman Road address. You
That
didn't
was-
live there then?
No, sir, I did not.
So you-
You can look back at all my other paperwork, and it states on there, it was 1723 Virginia Street, Alford, Florida. That's where I resided.
So you were, where is Pike Pond Road? Where's that at?
Pipe Pond Road. It's all Alford
Not
area.
that much, but where?
It's 7 miles south of Alford. It's on its way to Panama City.
At the emotional core of this courtroom hearing, the entire atmosphere shifts the moment Miss Kent opens up about the real reason behind her actions. What initially seems like a routine case involving a repeat traffic offense suddenly unfolds into something far more powerful and deeply human. As she describes receiving that urgent call on New Year's Day, that her terminally ill mother was in critical condition, the weight of her decision becomes undeniable. Her voice carries the urgency, fear, and desperation of someone racing against time, not for convenience, but for one final chance to be with a loved one. In that moment, the courtroom is no longer just a place of rules and consequences. It becomes a space where raw emotion and reality collide. The judge listens intently, and you can sense the shift from strict evaluation to genuine understanding. Instead of focusing solely on her past record, he recognizes the emotional gravity of the situation, acknowledging that sometimes life places people in impossible positions where any choice comes with consequences. The tension in the room transforms into a powerful silence as everyone absorbs the depth of her story. This isn't just about breaking the law anymore. It's about a daughter's final act of love, the pain of loss, and the difficult decisions made in moments of crisis. This defining moment captures something rare, where justice meets compassion in its purest form. It highlights the reality that behind every case file is a human story, often filled with struggles that aren't immediately visible. The judge's response reflects that understanding, showing that while laws must be upheld, there are moments where empathy shapes the outcome just as much as the facts.
The highway?
Yes, sir. No, it's a road off, it's a county road.
And you're going to the hospital at that time of day?
Yes, because they had called me about 5:30 that morning and told me we needed to talk about other arrangements.
Okay.
Because she was on a ventilator.
What was the charge you went to prison for?
DUI, possession, and actually I had it looked up the other day when I started these payments, and they said it was a DUI and a possession charge, and that's what I went to prison on.
Possession of what?
Methamphetamines.
All right. Anything else you want to tell me or show me?
No, I just have her death certificate, and I have where I started the payment plan. Just now being able to work. I work at Compass Lake. I'm self-employed, but I paint boathouses and houses down there, and I can get around and make money because I have an e-bike right now that I'm getting back and forth on at the lake. And before then I had no way to get to a job, because I live in the country kind of.
What about the documentation that she was in the hospital? You got anything like that?
Yes, sir.
Can we see that?
The things that are highlighted on here are.
Just something showing she was in the hospital on January 1st would be helpful.
Okay. Right here. And this is her insurance and where it was billed. The one that's in the blue at the top is the one with the day of that I had gotten pulled over. And that's where she was billed for her critical doctor.
When they pulled you over on this case, did they arrest you?
No, sir.
So they let you go into the hospital?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell us?
No, sir.
I'm not sure which prosecutor's handling this one. Mr. Mitchell, any questions for Ms. Kent, first of all? Are you through? I'm boss. Oh, go ahead, Mr. McDaniel. Anything else, Mr. McDaniel? Anything from the state?
Your Honor, we'll just leave it up to your discretion in that situation, take into account her driving record and her priors, we'll leave it up to the court. That's all I've got, Your Honor.
So I'm going out on a limb here. Well, I don't know. Most of the time, if she was sentenced to 6 months for driving license suspended, the state's offer would go up, not down, most of the time. That if she got one within next year or two. Were y'all aware that she had received 6 months?
At the time I made the offer, no, I just saw the prior. I didn't see what she had served.
You didn't go in there and look at it like I did to see what the sentence was?
Not intently at the time.
I understand.
I knew what it was, and I knew that if we were basically saying, hey, if you resolve that stuff in Washington County, then, you're going to do this, but more than likely, I knew at that point, prison. It was a prison hold off. And so
the Washington County, the DOC sentence was out of Washington County?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew she was going to prison.
But I guess my question is, why was offer only? I understand with the offer being 60 days now that we know about the hospitalization, but why was offer 60 days before? If she got 6 months, year and a half before this, why would you lower it from 6 months to 60 days without knowing the hospitalization? That makes perfect sense. It looks like the state didn't look closely at your case, is what I'm saying, or they wouldn't offer you 60 days.
Right.
But now that we know the whole story, the 60 days may be very reasonable. I don't know. It may be more appropriate or more in line. Normally, I would sentence you to 9 months or 8 months or 6, 7 months, something more than 6. You follow me?
Yes, sir.
But there's a whole nother factor there that we've got to take into account, and that's the real life factor that your mother has passed away. So if I didn't have a license and my mom was in the hospital and they said come, I would come, but I don't have 5 prior driving license suspended. either. Do you live by yourself?
No, sir.
Who you live with?
I lived with my cousin at the time, but he works at the Sun Stop and he wasn't able to take me. And plus, it was on New Year's Day.
Is there some tissue?
It was New Year's Day and no one was available. I tried to get someone to take me, but no one was available that day.
So, Mr. Mitchell, it complicates things greatly that with the hospitalization. From my perspective, what's your thoughts?
Typically, I'm in the same boat because we've seen situations like that at arraignments where, you know, they have an excuse for driving. But
Let me see the
normally,
death certificate. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Let me see the death certificate. Go ahead, Mr. Mitchell.
This is a big reason why we were contemplating, and she was contemplating on taking the trial because of the exigent circumstances. I just don't know if that's an exigent circumstance.
It's not a legal defense, but it's a real world fact that a judge should consider that
And-
you were driving to the hospital and that in fact your mother passed away.
And Your Honor,
What day did she pass away?
she passed on the 5th, but it was signed on the 7th. Right here is the,
You're saying where it says date of death, January 7th is
Yeah.
wrong?
yes, sir, because right here I have, it's the way that they filed the paperwork. But I have
Wait,
on here.
you're
the
saying
date.
her death certificate is wrong in the date.
Yes, I'm fixing to show you, on here.
Well, I saw where the insurance showed her being discharged on the
Sorry, it was
5th,
on the 5th. Yes, sir.
but the discharge date is not necessarily the date of death. Did she,
It's.
in your
the
case,
date-
it is?
Yes, sir. My son is out here and he can tell you that's the day of death. I don't know why it was signed like that. And I didn't even notice that until I was on my way here going through paperwork, but
I'm trying to
yes,
see if it says on here that she was in the hospital. Sometimes the death certificate will say
yes, sir.
place of death.
I think it does say Sacred Heart on there.
It does. Facility name.
Yes,
Bay
sir.
Medical Center. So it appears from the death certificate, she was still in the hospital when she passed away, 69 years of age. All right. So, Mr. Mitchell, I think I interrupted you earlier. You want to say something else?
you pretty much filled in the blanks with what you said after that.
And,
That's
Your
nothing
Honor,
else from the state.
I think if it was me, if I had 5 priors or 10 priors or 20 priors and my mom, I'm assuming you got the phone call. I don't have any reason to doubt that. I think I would go. Whose vehicle were you driving?
I was driving hers. I have the registration right here of that too.
All right.
And I understand I have the priors, but I had just gotten out of prison for that. And I wasn't trying to, I was living in Alfred, so maybe I could get a job and get back and forth
You know-
without driving.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you. Go
No,
ahead.
it's fine.
You were saying something though?
Yeah, and I know that I should have been behind the wheel.
Yeah, I can't. Mr. McDaniel. I can't put her in jail with her documentation she's provided. I think there's very little chance she's gonna make probation. I think I'm probably gonna put her in jail eventually, but I'll give her a shot at probation under these circumstances. I've accepted your plea of no contest. I'm going to judge you guilty of the offense. I usually don't do that on probation, but with her history, I'm going to do that. A judge you guilty of the offense. I'm going to sentence you to 11 months and 29 days probation, standard conditions of probation, plus the following special conditions: $400 court costs and fines. You will have a condition not to drive a motor vehicle unless you have a valid license. You will have a condition to obtain a valid license if one is reasonably available to you. No early termination of probation. If you violate probation, then I'm going to put a note in the system that your last sentence was 6 months in jail. So what that means is if you violate probation, there's a very good chance you're going to get more than 6 months. If you violate in a substantial manner, I'm not talking about missing one reporting period. I'm talking about disappearing on us, getting a new charge, something like that happens.
Yes, sir.
Then you are very likely to receive more than 6 months in jail if I'm still the judge at that time. Do you have any questions?
No, sir, thank you.
Ms. Kent, you're welcome. I do wish you the best. I'm sorry for the loss of your mother. I'm going to ask that you see Mr. Goodson with the probation office here,
Yes, sir.
and Mr. Goodson's going to give you some instructions. Mr. Mitchell, anything else? Mr. Bell, anything else in this case?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. McDaniel?
Thank you.
All right, see Mr. Goodson, man. Wish you the best.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
As the hearing draws to its final moments, the judge's words carry a powerful weight that lingers in the air. This isn't just the end of a case. It's the conclusion of a story that touched on grief, urgency, and the difficult choices people make when faced with life's most painful moments. Miss Kent stands there not just as a defendant, but as someone who acted out of love in a moment of crisis. The decision reflects more than just legal reasoning. It reflects a rare balance between accountability and compassion, reminding everyone present that justice is not always black and white. The courtroom falls into a thoughtful silence as the reality of what just unfolded sinks in. It's a moment that speaks to anyone who has ever faced a tough choice, showing that behind every charge is a human story that deserves to be heard. This case leaves a lasting message. Sometimes understanding someone's why changes everything. If this powerful story resonated with you, make sure to hit like, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional and real courtroom moments that reveal the human side of justice.